I have two emails from new people with interesting topics. Now, they're not literal new people. Infants aren't allowed to use a computer, or they're not very good at it anyway. So let's get speaker bot confirmation here coming up. I've got my audio confirmation already. I don't know why I pointed that
DougBot
way.
said, "Hi, how you
Okay,
doing?"
there's speaker bot, and I'm going to actually hear it. Yeah, it's there. Okay, so then, yeah, infants, not the two new people, they're not real. It's like when you buy a used car. It's not a new car, but it's new to me. So these are new people to me. That, as far as my awareness, I think they've been watching for a while. But they have interesting questions coming up. So I think I'm going to go straight to that. Now, because I don't know them very well, and because they actually do expose, their full name and extra personal information, I have copied the body of their email to Microsoft Word. And that's where we will deal with it. So I'm going to make this screen big here with what key? F11, doesn't it? Isn't that what makes it big? Function key F11. That's not working. Oh, that's okay. I'll just go ahead and bring this up because I think that's probably big enough. Well, let's go to the view menu and do page width. That's good. And then, oh, down here in the bottom, there's a full screen somewhere. Print layout, README, focus, web layout. Is it focus? Yeah, focus will do it. Eric says, so says Eric. I watched your video with very much interest. I have a somewhat older Windows 10 computer that isn't Windows 11 compatible with tons of software on it. I would like to transfer all of it without having to reinstall everything. Now, he was responding to the video about, oh, what was it called? I think something like transferred programs and data to a new computer. Because most people say you can't do that. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you can. And I show how to do it. The source drive is a 931 gigabyte, right? Because it's almost 1 terabyte. I don't think it's 931 megabytes. MBR RAID on 2 SSDs. Does the image backup get rid of the RAID configuration? Yes, it does. When you do an image backup, you can restore it to some other drive. It does not have to be the same configuration drive. I would like to transfer the system to a non-RAID setup on the computer. So are there RAID and non-RAID drivers involved? No, you don't need to worry about that. Now, the place where you do have to worry about RAID is if you're booting a computer that has RAID configuration, particularly Dell computers, that has a Optane configuration. If you're doing that with a Mac and Reflect thumb drive that doesn't have the driver for that, then you might have difficulty seeing the drive, but you've already gone past that, so you're okay. Which could get me into trouble. I would think the new machine sees the backup image as logical drive, yes, and ignores RAID configuration, yes, but I'm not sure. Thank you very much for your precious valuable time and advice. To paraphrase, I did not start with a link to today's show, but I started that right at the beginning. So I'm going to come over here to his email and put in a response. I vaguely think that I recognize Eric's full name, but not sure. From Switzerland. All right, so I'm going to click reply to that, and I'll hit a video link button and then paste that into the email, and I'm going to change it to like, I don't know, 10 seconds. And should I go ahead and send it? Yeah, because I might forget to send it. Oh, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'll do. I'll just check and see over here. So I copied that link and see how close that gets me. Infants aren't allowed to use a computer, or they're not very good at it. Oh, anyway. I don't want to start with that for him, do I? Let's get speaker bot confirmation here coming up. I've got my audio
maybe.
confirmation
Oh, how
already.
about if I just switch this up here?
Oh,
This is going to be an interesting way to deal with
and I'm
this.
going to actually hear it.
Now you're not hearing that audio come through, of course. Let's see what happens if I change this to 30 seconds. This is me poking my way around. I know this is not something you really want to hear.
Yeah, infants, not the two new.
No, that's too early. So let's go to 90 seconds. Take a glance over at chat while that's coming up. Oh, so that's too far. Now if I go change it to 70 seconds. I think right when I'm pulling up that email would be fine. Now I could have scrubbed forward to see that. What key? F11, doesn't it? Isn't that what makes it big? Yeah, I guess I'm dealing with that at that point. And that's where we will deal with it. So I'm going to make this screen big here with what key? Yeah, I'm still going further. F11. Doug, you're wasting too much time on this. Too much of the valuable
Function key
viewers'
F11.
time.
That's not working.
Oh, that's okay. I'll just go ahead and bring this up. Okay, that gets close enough. Then I'll move on to the next one. Got to take off screen. So go I find it. Oh, it just hurts when he says things like that, doesn't it? Go over to the other document and set things up so it looks better. Focus that. And this is from Craig. Craig says, oops, wait a minute. Sorry. I took that down to 80 seconds and I forgot to go back and fix that in the email. So there I'm actually sending the email. All right. Such a Doug. Craig says, hang on. By the way, there's something different. As you're looking at me today, I'm interested to see if anybody pops up in chat, says, hey, what's that? Hang on. I'm a subscriber to your channel and an avid consumer of your videos. While watching the Saturday live stream, you mentioned that you were looking for some more technical issues and content. I might have something for you. I have a mini PC with Intel Twin Lake N150 CPU, 8 GB RAM, 256 M.2 SSD, and it came installed with Windows 11 23H2. I've only had the PC for 3 weeks and use it only for watching YouTube, checking email, and some very light productivity tasks. I installed a Bluetooth speaker late last week and immediately began to have problems. Sound was gone, browsers wouldn't open, and other little annoyances. No big deal, since I had made a clone of the system using a Cronus True image. Yay! Now people around here say, why is he clapping for a Cronus True? No, I'm clapping because he made an image, okay? I don't care whether you use a Cronus or any other product. I would just restore from image. But when I went to change the boot order in the BIOS to boot from the recovery media, I could change the boot order and save and exit the BIOS, but despite repeated efforts to boot from the recovery media, it just wouldn't do it. I think I can. Woo, woo. I don't believe he just did that. No big deal, though. I'll just try and do, did you like how I fixed those typos on the fly? I'll just try and do a fresh install of Windows. But when I began to do the clean install, it would progress to the screen to choose the disk to install Windows on. I would delete the old partitions and hit the next key, which promptly took me right back to the beginning of the installation process, and would continue in this cycle several times before it would finally perform the install. Eventually, I was able to do a fresh install of Windows and restore my Cronus backup, and he's not telling us here how he did the fresh install of Windows. Now, wait a minute. Why would you do a fresh install of Windows, then restore a backup? Why not just restore the backup? You don't have to have Windows on the computer to restore the backup. Oh, maybe it's because he couldn't get the Cronus rescue drive to boot. Yeah, that's probably it. But let's just deal with a point in here. I'm hearing and I'm feeling sensations in here. I can feel it of legacy versus UEFI boot configurations, or the drive style, whatever you call it, HDMI versus RAID versus what's the other one that you can select in BIOS? That you had things conflicting there, where maybe you had maybe your rescue media had been created with under an MBR partition, because you do mention MBR up here, right? That is you, isn't it? Not the previous one we were looking at. But anyway, that you got something mixed up there, and that's why you're having some trouble. One of the things that I've seen in this type of a situation is when you delete the existing partitions and then you go try to install, you get a message saying Windows cannot be installed on this partition or cannot be installed on this drive. And that typically is an issue where, and I don't know exactly what the right sequence or configuration or variation that would do this, but if your boot media was legacy only, for instance, and your BIOS was set to boot in either mode, but since you had a legacy boot thumb drive, and then you get into the point of deleting the partition and trying to install, but that drive was created under UEFI, now it's a conflict. It won't work. And I'm inviting people to put messages in chat as to what you think is going on here. I see Greg M saying Intel drivers might be an issue here. Certainly that's a possibility. Let's continue on here. Yeah, I think the reason why you didn't do a fresh Acronis backup is because you weren't being able to get it to start up, right? Change the boot order. Yeah, despite I could not boot from the recovery media. So then what I would try doing is changing, check to see however the BIOS is configured, set it the other way, or change the drive style in BIOS. Obviously, I have no idea what was going on. I'm sure it was some kind of user error. The things that I'm suggesting, yeah, it would indicate there was a user error there. In regards to doing the restore of your image. Now, we haven't actually addressed your Bluetooth speaker issue. So let's go back and talk about that in a minute. Just curious as if you've encountered something like this before, as I just described, yeah. And if you had, was there a bad way or a way of dealing with it? I'm sure there is, as I've already suggested. Anyway, thought this might be something you're interested in. Absolutely, yes. Thank you so much. And I didn't do a timestamp. Have a great day. Except for forgetting to do the timestamp and pasting it in.
Read chat, please.
Yeah, I did. I already mentioned Greg M's chat. Oh, Intel drivers. Also, secure boot was enabled, hence why he could not boot off of USB. I've been able to boot off of USB with secure boot enabled, although it seems like in some instances maybe, no, I think I've always been able to. I've had other instances just over this weekend with this computer right here where it was a little troublesome. But anyway, that is something to consider. What Greg M is saying about try turning secure boot off, see if you have better luck there. I don't fully understand or know yet all the nuances of what secure boot may and may not cause to happen. Okay, now I want to get back to the Bluetooth speakers, so I'm going to read that last read chat message over here on OBS. Yeah, Ran Israel, if the media contains UEFI boot files, secure boot is not an issue. Oh, interesting. So that is an instance that Ran Israel is saying that could cause sometimes trying to boot from a USB media and you can't do it. and other times you can. The difference might be that the media does not contain UEFI boot files, meaning it was created under a legacy or MBR, and therefore the computer won't boot. Interesting. All
Read
the
chat, please.
number of times that it's going to take to test that would be quite a thing. Then ran Israel again. There could be an issue of the media contains MBR legacy boot files only, as Greg M suggests. So ran Israel agreeing with Greg. Thank you for that, gentlemen. Now let's come back to this issue about the Bluetooth speaker. Installed a Bluetooth speaker, immediately began to have problems. Sound was gone. Browsers would not open, and other little annoyances. I had an experience yesterday with a new wireless device that, as far as I know, still nobody in chat has noticed or asked about it. It caused substantial problem. It caused multiple hours to resolve. Now, in my case, it was causing the problem because of interactions with OBS, not just because of OBS, but because the specific way I had OBS configured. And I went through troubleshooting. I had one of the AI gentlemen, one of the AIs that I use, I don't remember which one, went through quite a lot of troubleshooting, and I found the solution, not the AI, but the AI did kind of get me inspired to the right path and solved it. So we don't know the specifics of what was going on with it, and he decided to take the issue of restoring a backup. Now, bravo for having frequent image backups. I have image backups every night. Not full backups every night, but I do full image periodically, and then differential backups more frequently, and then incremental backups every day, except the days when a differential backup occurs or a full backup occurs. So I can always restore back to the night before. And my data is always stored on OneDrive, so that's always accurate, current up to the second, because I make a change on a document and boom, it gets saved, auto-saved. As soon as I make the change, see a message up the top, auto-saving. It saves and it goes up to OneDrive in the background. So we don't have enough information about there to troubleshoot the Bluetooth speaker, the blue speaker tooth. So I don't know if you're already past that and moving on and don't want to troubleshoot it anymore, Craig, but if you want to experiment with that, you can just try booting from that media. If you try booting from that, and you can experiment with changing the BIOS setting. It is safe. It is okay to change the BIOS from legacy to UEFI and change the drive types back and forth. As long as I would rather not try to do a Windows repair when you change to one of those, but when you change back to the way it ought to be, your computer will come back up just fine. Slight possibility that it might prompt you to do a Windows repair. Don't do that. Just start safe mode and then exit safe mode and restart the computer and you'll be fine. And that happens with switching back and forth from the drive types, because you can even change the drive type back and forth and get Windows to function. But then when you have switch it back, you'll have to go into safe mode to get Windows to say, oh, that's what you meant. Okay. That was not a very good description, Doug. Okay, those were the two new emails. I have a bunch of other things stored in email, and I did not do a timestamp for him. Okay, so I have to discipline myself, people. to and figure out a better way to do this. If I come back here, it's Craig that I missed. So if I scroll back to where I find Craig's email first
And
coming
he decided,
on, and was that the first?
and
Was
other little
this?
annoying
See, I should be able to find it pretty quickly. This is really painful for me
Stints that
because
ran
I
Israel is-
feel it very strongly that I am dragging the show down by doing this. I see Craig's name still on there. How far back does this
Thing
go?
for across
Good
no.
gollies. Watching the Saturday, that was still Craig. What I ought to do is award points for somebody who can give me the right time increment. If they just give me the link. Is this where I start with him?
I took that down to 80 seconds.
Speeding
and I
it
forgot
up.
to go back and fix that in the email. So there I'm actually sending the email. All right.
Double
Such a
speed
dog.
now.
Craig says, hang on.
Okay, this is where I'm starting with him,
By
right?
the way, there's something different. As you're looking at me today, I'm interested to see if anybody.
I gotta get past
I'm a
that
subscriber
point.
to your channel and an
All right,
avid.
there we go.
Hang on.
There we go. So that's where it starts. So this is at minus 1317 and subtract that from minus 2038. No, that's minutes and seconds. All right, so you gotta do it in your head, Doug. 1318 2038. So I'm going to say it's about 7 minutes, 7 times 60 for 20. Somewhere around there. Let's see that last read chat, please. John Williams.
All right. Such a dog. Craig says, hang
Yeah.
on.
That's pretty good.
By the way, there's something different.
No, I
As
got to
you're
go a
looking
little
at
bit
me to-
further. Got to go a little bit further because of that other subject that I was talking about, which, as far as I know, still nobody has figured that out.
By the way, there's something different. As you're looking at me today, consumer of your video, it's Ram 256. And the Saturday chat says, hey, what's that? Hang on. Interested to see if anybody. I'm a subscriber to your channel and an avid consumer of your.
Okay. 40.
Hey, what's that? Hang on.
Yeah, that's good. So I'm going to give him that link, take that off screen, go paste it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, people. Why does he do this to us so often? He makes mistakes and we suffer. We suffer for it. Ah. Where's that going to now? I have other things in comments, but I mean, on emails that I could show. Domain 2000, have you shown up? Domain 2000 had asked for chat room approval. I already did it. The fix is in. If I click those 3 dots there, you see I can remove him as an approved user, but he is approved. Has these shown up in chat? Nobody's told me. Nobody's given me a read chat, please, to tell me that a new person has shown up in chat. So I don't think he's here yet. I think a lot of people around here recognize Dillman 2000 from Kerry Holtzman's channel. What was I doing? Oh, I was looking at comments to see if there's anything else that I need to address in the form of a question. Yeah, let's take this one. I see Ken Stout finally showed up and he's catching up in DVR mode. Yeah, oh boy, I almost missed it. Button first, Doug, button first. Thumbs up and heart, and then paste the link. Junk box says in regards to the Windows 10 home drive encryption on by default. Says, thank you. This was helpful working on my friend's Dell Inspiron 3477 all-in-one computer. With Windows 10 home and disk management is telling me that the C drive is encrypted by BitLocker. Contrary to other info about Windows 10 Home, it appears to have been turned on by default by Dell. Yes, Dell, HP, all the major names will turn that on by default. Most of these vanilla brand computers, like this laptop behind me and the mini computers, most of them are not doing that anymore. I think back in the past they were. Windows 10 and 11 Home will have device encryption turned on by default. And I had a computer that came in for replacement, and when I went to look at it, it had BitLocker or device encryption partially enabled, meaning device manager shows it as enabled. There's another place you can see that's enabled, and there's another place you can go to that say it's not enabled. Well, it's not completed until you sign into your Microsoft account, but it still can be problematic. On that type of scenario, if I go into Macro Reflect and try to do an image backup, I get a warning that this drive is BitLocker encrypted, and the backup's going to remove that encryption on the backup. But sometimes that's my alert. Oh, gee, this has encryption partially enabled, because back in the day, I didn't even know to look for that. Yeah, the major names. And when you do a fresh Windows 10 or 11 Home installation, I think it still has BitLocker enabled. It's not completed yet. So you'll get a prompt wanting you to sign in your Microsoft account in order to complete encryption. But you have to go turn it off if you want it off. And I have demonstrated that before. Contrary to mucho information about Windows 10 Home, it appears to be turned on by default by Dell. Interesting, on 22H2, I can get to BitLocker encryption page, but it's blank. I have seen that too. I have seen some pages recently open up with a blank screen, and then I go back after it again, or go in it from a different direction. I've seen that happen. I haven't tracked down the circumstances that has happened, but I have seen that 3 or 4 times in the past 7 days. Thanks for showing me to the device encryption page. Also, I had to manually rebuild WMI. When what does that stand for? I don't remember. Some image, something Windows, something image, for the manage BDE command to work. All right. Complete that, because I have the right link. I have some other comments in here. Don't need to respond to them at this point in time, because I want to go to chat. Go to chat. Go. Go west, young man. Go west. To chat. And pop out chat. I'm going to start with oranges. I think I've hit all the read chats. I didn't display them all on screen. I'm going to check OBS at the beginning to see if there's something else I need to get. There was an orange before the show began from John Williams at 19 minutes before showtime, saying, very nice trailer. Little Deuce Coupe. Hang on a moment. That was a double whammy, a burp and a clearing of my throat. Like, too much information, Doug. Looking for oranges. Special card at Buddha. I'm not going to read through all this at this point. Yeah, secure boot, already did that comment. Doman 2000, you're here. Doman, I know you. I know you already. We're just going to make you a moderator.
Read chat, please.
Which basically means around here you can post links, and that we know that you're already known to not be a troll. Now let's go see what that last read chat, please is. Martin Hogg. Doug, I think that possibly Linux would enable a fresh format to be done on a BitLocker encrypted drive. Just a thought. Why on earth would you do that? Why on earth would you do that? You're going to wipe out whatever is currently on your drive. No. No, no, no. I don't get that. Yes, you're welcome, Doman. Yeah, it would wipe out the encryption. Wipe out everything else. Under certain circumstances, you might want to do that, but it's easy to undo encryption. That's simple. That's built into Windows. There's nothing difficult about that. Now, okay, maybe under this circumstance, let's suppose you get hold of an encrypted drive and you want to use that drive in another computer. You don't care about what's on that drive. You don't want to access it. Yeah, Linux would do a fresh format, but so would Windows. You could just go into Windows and delete the existing partitions. Doesn't matter if they were encrypted. You can delete the partitions even if they're encrypted. That'll work fine. Is there some other circumstance that you think that would be useful? Well, I hope your grandson feels less wimpy soon. Visiting with grandson, stayed home from school, feeling wimpy. Was somebody threatening to fight him? Anyway, best wishes for your grandson. I get my grandson tomorrow. So I'm still continuing looking for oranges. I had one of those little mandarins this morning, but that's not what I'm referring to right now. I saw the test flash drive on another computer. Check to see what, how do we check? Yeah, okay, I'm not quite sure how to answer this. So I'm looking for you to answer this in chat. How do we take a flash drive, put it into a current running Windows computer and examine that flash drive and determine whether it is MBR only, legacy boot, UEFI, or how do we determine what that flash drive is capable of? Because I think I have some around here that are limited to one way or the other, and I'm not sure how to check that. I have not investigated. I have not asked any AI yet. I'm asking you to tell me. You to tell me how to do it. Looking at the folder structure. Okay, let's put a flash drive in. I don't want to do it with that one. Oh, this will be interesting. Look at this. I have begun this project. I haven't labeled this with my label printer yet, but this is hand labeled SpinRite. So I've made the bootable media. I haven't even tried booting a computer on it yet. Oh, you know what? I can just plug that in over here. Now, SpinRite, we know, or I know, requires legacy mode BIOS in order to boot. So let's go find here. And it automatically names itself SpinRite. It is not a DOS or Windows. Well, I think it's a DOS format. So he says, look at the partitions. Is that what he said? So like disk management, folder structure. There's no folders. So you're wanting to use File Explorer to see what folders are on it? Is that what you're saying? I'll have to use a different thumb drive for that. Let's have a look at disk management.
Read chat, please.
Oh, he knows the second verse. I'll get to that in a moment. Healthy active partition, removable fat 32. That doesn't really answer though, is it legacy only or UEFI? So let's come and see this. It appears to be MBR only. Well, what did you see that told you that? That doesn't tell me how to determine it. When you tell me what it is, that doesn't tell me. Regarding this appears. Oh, this appears to be MBR. Yeah, what are you seeing that tells you that? Will this part yield that information, perhaps with this command? Well, let's put in another drive before we try that. So that way I'll have something else. Not seeing any UEFI boot files. Are there hidden files? Well, that drive, since it was created, formatted by SpinRite, I know that it is not capable of booting UEFI. So that's kind of a waste of time for us to go down that road. Oh, watch this. Nobody, as far as I know, nobody has asked about what is new today. Nobody has seen this thing right here. Okay, let's see how this works. I'm going to put a Windows 10 22H2. And do I want to do another one? No, I'm just going to do that for now. Now, I'll turn off the overhead mic. Turn on the lavalier mic so you can still hear me while I go over this way. You should be hearing me just fine. I'm going to come back here. Switch back to the overhead mic because I think it sounds better. Choose to upload files. I didn't get to see what, and you didn't get to see what that said either, did you? I think we're in overtime. So now, which one is it? I'm guessing it's this one. So this is that, what did I say, Windows 10? So since it has EFI, that means it's...
Read chat, please.
We're only concerned about this on bootable thumb drives. So this means this is UEFI. So if BIOS was set to legacy only, would this thumb drive fail to boot? Because if you do a thumb drive, the best way to do a thumb drive is so that it can boot for either way, right? Overhead mic sounds much better. Look into boot folder. Did you say look into boot folder in order to determine if it could also boot for legacy? And if so, I need for you to tell me what you're looking at that gives the answer. Boot configuration data, that's the BCD file. Boot SDI. See, I don't know what files are needed in order for legacy to work. I'm going to assume that EFI says that it will work for UEFI. Okay.
Read chat, please.
Here we go. ETFS boot is used for MBR. EFI files used for UEFI. So ETFS, I'm trying to think of how I'm going to associate that with MBR. That might have to be rote memory. Was that file there? ETFS boot. Yeah, ETFS boot. So that's going to let it do MBR. So that means this thumb drive can do either. Oh, awesome. You know what? I think 2 months from now, I'm going to forget this. So I think I need to create a video showing how to do this. MBR master boot record is in the EFSI boot file. Or did you mean ETFS boot? EFSI boot? Was that a typo? EFSI boot. He says yes. Does that mean yes, that it was a typo? I don't quite know what you meant yes to, but I think you meant yes, that there was a typo. But we don't have that file, right? So yeah, so we don't have his typo file. So he means this ETFS boot. That makes sense. I'm going to assume that's what you meant. All right, get out of here, Doug. Get the whole flock out of here, all of them. Except that, was there a boot folder for SpinRite? No, there was not. Maybe because, oh, yeah, but I need to give you this. I owe you this. EIOIOU. Let's show hidden files. Yeah, oh yeah, how's this for fun? Auto-exec batch file. Oh, and I said, whoops, no, I don't want to run it. Auto-exec batch file. I just tried to run it on Big Piece Build during a show. Here's what the auto-exec batch file does for SpinRite, and the config.sys file. Here's what it does in SpinRite. Oh, does that have sentimental value? Here's a DOS command com. Now let's see about hidden files. I got to go over here. I mean system files. Hide protected operating system files. That's already not selected. So they're not being hidden. So we're seeing everything. That's everything. Because like if I go back and hide them, there's nine items visible there now. If I go back here to view and hide, whoops, not extensions, hide protected system files. Do I get less than 9? Yeah, I get 2. So those were, they showed up when I unhid them because I already had unchecked hide protected system files. For some reason, I don't know why. Yes, it is DOS bootable media. That's how SpinRite works. It runs off of a DOS. This is the latest version of SpinRite. I don't know what problem you're referring to. It's not a problem anymore. And true, secure boot has to be turned off. I don't think that is fixed. Unless, no, I gotta say that's my recollection. I haven't tried it yet, so I'll try it. Some new Dells will not allow CMS being enabled. We'll have to wait for another decade for SpinRite 7. Not true. Absolutely not true. You don't have to run SpinRite on the subject computer. You can remove the drive from the subject computer, connect it to another computer, and run SpinRite on that. And in most cases, I think most people are likely to do that because SpinRite's going to take a long time to run. And you probably don't want to have your computer down for that period of time. Although if you've removed the drive from the computer, I suppose it's going to be down. Yeah, so there are some computers that will not run SpinRite at my last knowledge. Better use a separate system for these tools also because the amount of time it needs. Absolutely. If the storage is soldered in, you're out of luck. Most likely. Except there's other ways to deal with whatever. Well, no, there isn't. Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. If you have a computer with soldered storage and you don't have soldered storage, you don't have backups, and you want to get the data off the computer that is no longer accessible, can you ship the entire computer to $300 data recovery? Do they do that work? Interesting. That could be a severe gotcha for somebody getting a cheap computer and not being educated enough to do backups. All right, get out of here, Doug. Go. Goodbye. Don't look at the screen. Don't.